Andrew, thanks again for giving us some of your time. We've got some more questions from church planners. And the first one we've got is, do I need a degree to plant a church, or is theological education something I can get done along the way?
Yeah, sure. So, okay, there's a couple of questions in that one, and there's somewhat complex. If I can just try and tease it out, if someone were asking something along the lines of, "Do you need a bit of paper? The degree document?" Of course not. No one needs a theological bit of paper to plant a church. But do you need a theological education? Yeah, absolutely. Especially theological education meant in the kind of broader sense of being educated theologically, not sort of whether it's formal or informal. Now, if you're going to be the startup evangelist, yeah, I think that's a different kind of deal. But if you're going to be the bloke who founds the church and not just wins people to Christ, but establishes them in a community and builds the foundations, I think we need a whole lot more. And so on the specific of formal theological education, I think there's some freaky people out there who can get the kind of theological education that's needed by their own disciplined application of themselves.
I think we've got a mate in Tasmania who might be one of them.
I was just about to say, I think Mikey Lynch is one of those kind of guys. I think Mikey would love to have been through formal theological education, but he's a disciplined, well thought through, he reads widely, broadly, deeply, and there are people like that, like the Spurgeons, and so no, the issue is theological education, and then the question is, what kind of person am I? Have I got the discipline, the wherewithal to get that theological education by my own efforts, or am I the kind of person who would be helped by having a structured program within which I work and operate with people around me to stir me in that course and so on? And look, I think the reality is too, once you start a church plant, if it is blessed and begins to grow, then you're going to be so busy.
I think that you're right. You've established the nature of the personality often has a big deal to do with it. And I actually think, you're probably right in saying that Mikey's something of a rarity. Like a lot of us can benefit from having a structure that actually, takes us through things when we don't want to. Let me ask you a bit about that structure, though, just briefly. You're talking to a national audience. Actually, we've got some internationals, chiming in to look at our stuff. If they're looking for a college, if they've decided that's the way they're going to do that, they would like to do some theological education. There's lots of different types. There's those that offer straight theology, and then there are some that build in some management ideas, and others that have sort of some of the social working aspects that are associated with planning a church. What do you think are the essentials that a person might have to look for in a course to pick the right one?
Yeah. My experience here, when we started here all those years ago, my education was through a strict theological college. So there was very little pragmatics of ministry, how to conduct management exercises, services and so on. The majority of it was know your Bible, know the history of theology, get to know the original languages, do some textual work and so on. In the ethics, that kind of broader work. I didn't regret a day of that, and found when we started, I was so grateful that I'd spent the time on it. And so I've had a lot of people critique me over the years that shouldn't ministers' education include much more of that other management business stuff. But my view is that the work we're in as cure of souls, being first and foremost the task, requires such a deep grasp of the gospel and the theology of God that we can protect from error and ground in a deep and rich truth, that we need men and women for whom that's their heartbeat.
Someone's keen to talk to you. So I take it if that you're not saying that stuff isn't valuable or might not have a place, but if you're going to pick the first thing that you're going to concentrate on, then cures of souls really have to know the theology first.
Yeah. We don't want planters and pastors who are leader managers who do some theology. We want planters, pastors who are theologians, who are first and foremost pursuing the knowledge of God themselves, who love knowing God and want to deepen their knowledge of God and want to convey that to others. They're the kind of planters, pastors we need first and foremost, who then pick up leadership and management skills.
Mate, not an easy topic, but thanks very much for talking to us about it.
Yeah, pleasure.